Okay, amazing. So yeah, Matt, you just missed a minute of us just talking about the topic of the webinar. And so just so you know, most people are from Ontario. We've got lots of representatives from BC, Alberta. We've got a couple from Manitoba, a couple people from Atlantic Canada. We're still asking people to call their friends from Saskatchewan, but we've got about 95 people now tuned in. So thank you guys so much. And I'll basically hand it over to you guys to explain your roles with Fix Network and what you've been up to in the last little bit.
Great. Yeah, so I'll lead it off. Allison, thank you very much for putting this together, and thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate the time being spent. Apologies that we're getting started a little bit late here. So my name is Matthew Mauro. I'm Associate Vice President for Sales and Operations for the Fix Network. My role is overseeing the Ontario and Western both sales and operations team. New to the role, it's been about 3 months, but essentially the goal here within the Fix Network was to combine both the sales and operations team to eliminate silos and create one unified approach, not just for our franchise partners, but also for our insurance partnerships as well. This alignment will be delivering a consistent message and impactful results for everyone involved and all of our key stakeholders. I work very closely with all of our teams across the country, specifically with Mustafa and his team, which he's going to kind of go over in a moment. But I really rely on the data and the analytics for our sales and operations team to basically deliver the results that we're looking for and help our franchisees grow and expand their business and perform better for our partners.
And hello, everyone. My name is Mustafa Rajab. I am the National Director of Performance for Fix Network. I've been in this role for a little under a year now. It'll be a year in September. I have the distinct pleasure of working with our analytics team, our customer service team, and our image desk team. And my role really is to provide a holistic view of our network's performance and health. Obviously, I leverage data quite heavily as a central focus of performance coaching and KPI improvement across the network. The idea is really to get as much information as possible from our image desk team and from our customer service team that we can sort of package into a nice sort of package to deliver excellence to our franchisees.
Excellent. We're so glad to have you both here today. Thank you again for being here. And I just heard from somebody that the chat is disabled. Yeah, it's a dead chat. So feel free to use the Q&A as a chat. We can all see it. I look at it pretty consistently. So just use the Q&A as a chat and I will repeat your comments to the crowd. But before we get started here, let's just review the topic we're thinking about today is about just franchising. It's not just about Fix Network, it's about everything. And even independents can gather some things from this conversation. It's just about the things you should be focusing on and what's most important. But Fix Network, we know as a country, we know you guys do it very, very well. So let's first start with partners and relationships. So Matthew, we've known each other for quite a while. But can you walk us through how Fix Network builds and maintains relationships with insurers and other industry players? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges and the things you faced when you're signing partners and how you build those relationships with other people?
Yeah, I mean, relationships go back a long way, right? Like Fix Network has been around for a very long time amongst, our competitors. They've all been key kind of stakeholders in this industry and do a very good job for all the insurance partners, fleet partners, whatever it may be. But at the Fix Network and kind of, again, coming in new and just understanding my team, working with Mustafa's and the others across the country, we really rely heavily on data-driven insights and the performance of our franchise partners to build and grow our relationships with our insurance and other industry stakeholders, sorry. So that's really what we really focus on. We really trust the data and the performance capabilities. It's critical for developing and expand those partnerships. We like to emphasize the importance of the owner and operator involvement. I think we can see the best performing locations and the strongest performing locations have one very strong leadership through consistency, but also the owners or operators are very involved and driven within their business. From a corporate perspective, our leadership team, including Steve Leal, who obviously owns the Fix Network, he leads by example. The active involvement enables us to adapt very quickly, take on new initiatives, pilots, and implement changes that benefit our partners. So when it comes to challenges and strategies, it allows us to be very nimble and really just adjust on the fly for our partners and just really try to address any of those key issues. And again, if we implement a pilot and it's not really working or there's an adjustment that needs to be made, we can do so very, very quickly with the strength of our leadership, but also the strength of our franchisees that are heavily involved in their businesses.
I hate to nitpick, but are there any challenges that you faced and the challenges specifically? How do you work to overcome them?
Yeah, again, I mean, there's a few that we're working on that I can't really get into, but there's some around. For example, a hot industry topic is about recycling. So there's a few things that we're working on recycling. Not just for the one that everyone knows of plastic bumpers, but there's a few other ones that we're working on to try to increase and promote this piece, and just really just drive those kind of CO2 savings that our insurance partners are looking for. So there's about 3 different pilots and projects that we have on the go. One's about to go live, hopefully within the next week, but hopefully more things to come. But that would just be one that I could kind of specifically list. A few other ones that are more specific to what the Fix Network is doing with our partners.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great comment there. I think recycling has become a really big topic, as you said, plastic bumper recycling, but other things too, just with, we don't want to say the T word, but with everything that's going on in the industry right now, it's very important to address topics. So we'll hand it over to Mustafa now. Mustafa, this is our first time really having a in-depth conversation, but
Yes.
I know you have an analytical background. So what's your approach to identifying potential? That technical difficulty really got me off guard, clearly. What's your strategy for identifying potential bottlenecks and improving operational processes across franchisee locations?
So at Fix Network, we sort of take a holistic approach to looking at the data and the KPIs. We don't just look at sort of the financial piece of it, but we also are becoming a lot more involved in terms of the operational KPIs. What I mean by that is things that like cycle time, like repair to replace ratio. Those KPIs are not necessarily sort of reflected on the P&L. But at the end of the day, they drive the P&L. So we create a P&L sort of like a scorecard for us, as opposed to obviously it's a good end goal, but we use the operational KPIs to really tell us where the issues are, what the repair processes that we need to implement in a specific shop to get to where they need to be on their P&L. That's really pretty much it. Yeah.
Would you say that cycle time is really like one of the main KPIs that you focus on, or what other KPIs are you really looking at here?
100%. So cycle time is a great example. We don't just look at the claim cycle time overall. We actually break it down into a bunch of different little data points that help us identify the bottleneck. So for example, if I notice a shop that is struggling to bring the vehicle into the repair process after the vehicle was dropped off, we start understanding what's going on with your parts ordering process, what's going on with your dismantle process. So it really gives us it pinpoints where we need to focus on. And obviously that data goes over to the operations team. And this is where Matthew and his team come in to support us and help us out.
Yeah, Allison, just to kind of add on to that, I think, one of the big things that the industry is looking at, amongst other things, is obviously length of rentals. How can we reduce length of rental, right? And I think, a lot of us historically will always look at how can we speed up production. Production always seems to be the main focal point on how to reduce length of rental. And for lack of better words, very generally speaking, when we look at our data, when the vehicle is in for repair, that doesn't really necessarily seem to be the issue. And that's what we kind of hear from our insurance partners as well. Where we see the breakdown in opportunity is to what Mustafa was saying on the breakdown of the 6 different data points, specifically just on the cycle time, is maybe areas of opportunity once that vehicle is ready for delivery, but also majority of it is really actually upfront. When that vehicle arrives at the shop. So there's clear areas of opportunity that when that vehicle arrives at the shop before it gets to assembly, that's where we see the biggest lag in time. And that's where we kind of pull out and break out, whether it be drivable, non-drive, to make sure the data is accurate, to really truly identify where the area of opportunity is. Is it due to scheduling? Is it due to estimatics? Is it due to supplements or sublets or whatever it may be? We really try to dive into the why that's happening. So like what Mustafa was talking about, when we look at the P&L or scorecards, that's kind of the overall scorecard or scoreboard at the end of the period or at the end of the game. What Mustafa's team has done and what we've been implementing is kind of almost those in-game analytics. So, I use sports references very often. I think about hockey players when they get off the ice after their shift and they're looking at the iPads and trying to figure out maybe what they did wrong or what they could have done differently. That's essentially what we're in a position to do. So we can kind of see almost like real-time in-game mode, how to adjust for the next shift, how to adjust for that next car, how to adjust for that next claim, and kind of move it through the process properly. So that way at the end of the month or at the quarter, whatever that scorecard, whether it be from our insurance partners or the P&L statement for our shops, which is so important, is in line where it needs to be. But we can look at that all day long, and we can really focus on that, which is incredibly important, and we need to be there. But we got to make sure we have all the small details lined up first, and that's where those in-game analytics come into play.
Absolutely. That leads us very well into our next question. But thank you, Matthew, for giving us that little insight there. I think the sports analogy, a lot of us, especially with hockey, a lot of us Canadians will resonate with that very well. But I want to know how Fix Network employs new technologies and how the technological aspect comes into, operational improvement and all the other aspects of the body shop. That's a question for both of you. So feel free to take it on as much as you can.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. I'll jump in first and let Mustafa kind of follow. Sorry, Mustafa, if I leap bound you there for a second.
All
But
good.
so at the Fix Network, I think a lot of folks know in the industry that we're just committed to the forefront of any technological innovation. We have the state-of-the-art facilities for training across the country, both in Quebec, Ontario, and Alberta. Hopefully, more to come in the soon. But we really use these training facilities to pilot in the impact of new technologies and try to assist our franchisees in the network into implementing these tools and how they can perform and better support their business. It really allows us also to gather some real world data on any emerging technology and help us make informed decisions as to which way to go. Maybe we need to pivot, maybe we need to lean into something, but it really allows us to align as a network and also support our partners, whether it be franchisee and insurance partners as well.
Yeah, and to jump in here to your point, we use the training centers quite a bit, to be honest, when it comes to testing out new equipment and new technology. We've made it into a science almost, where we're looking at things like the efficiency of the piece of equipment, the failure rate of the piece of equipment, the length of time it takes us to use, the training aspect of it, and how long the sort of absorption of information takes. So we've really broken it down as if it's a scientific sort of endeavor. And I thought that was pretty cool, because at the end of the day, once we come out on the other side, it's a lot easier for us to make recommendations to our franchisees first and foremost, and obviously to our insurance partners as well.
Yeah, I visited both many times the training center that's in Milton. I visited that one many times, but I was also privileged enough to see the Calgary Training Center before it was opened, and it's pretty fantastic, guys. Like when you walk in there, it's like you could eat off the floor in there. It's clean. It's the complete opposite of, as all of us know, what the general public thinks of body shops. It's just absolutely fantastic. So thank you guys for that insight there. So the next comment I wanted to the topic I wanted to touch on here is Fix Network. We already touched on it a bit, but you guys are known for strong partnerships with OEMs, insurers, other industry stakeholders. So what early stage strategic shifts do you take with franchisees to perform benchmarks effectively?
Yeah, I think we talk about a lot. We're going to be hitting on a lot during this conversation. It's really data driven. So data driven benchmarking is at the heart of our strategies. We use industry standard KPIs. We like to, obviously, as we spoke about, dig pretty heavily and dig pretty deep into identifying correlations between key metrics, such as, again, that repair versus replace ratios or that cycle time for that throughput. The level of analysis that we have really allows us to pinpoint, like I was talking about before, the area of opportunity improvement, that in-game opportunity. We talked about the example of breaking down that claim cycle time and all those 6 different data points and helping to reduce length of rental. And we have, I know we kind of might get to some specific examples, but when we looked at this data and we implemented some performance assessment tools within our operational team, we were able to identify the area of opportunity. And for example, with some shops, reduce their length of rental for overall cycle time, for example, from, let's call it 25 days, which is just causing a headache for our insurance partners, down to 12 days. And that didn't happen necessarily within 6-month period or 3-month period. This happened within a month and a half. So this is something that we focus on. And again, by having that data to really pinpoint and be precise is key. And there's countless examples of where this is really kind of taking hold and taking shape. So that's really a testament to the data team and then the operations team that's out in the field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I think we're looking at data a little bit differently, in my opinion. I think we're looking at data now from a scientific viewpoint. So we're looking for correlations between the different KPIs. We're looking at statistical cause and effect relationship between KPIs. We're not sort of just going based on our gut feeling or what we know to be true, because what the data is telling me now is that might not be the case. So it's really pointing us at cool different directions that, you know, help us and obviously provide the operations team with what they need to go in and affect change like immediately. It's not something that we have to wait on, and it's not something that we sort of step back and see develop. We see it real time on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Are there any like specific examples you guys can give about what you guys have done for this sort of topic about the procedures and everything like that? Is there anything specific we can really divulge, or are we be a little bit cheeky with it?
I mean, so one of the studies that we've recently completed was a study where I wanted to understand a little bit better what causes the number of supplements, for example, that we have as a network, and what is the big driver for that. And for the life of me, I couldn't really figure it out until I plugged it into this mathematical sort of system that gives me an idea of what's going on and what the correlations are between the different variables.
Yeah.
The cool thing that came out of that was the biggest predictor of the number of supplements was the point of impact on the vehicle. And the one that affects the metric the most was actually where there is no real point of impact, where it's a vandalism claim or something like that. And I realized the issue really is the communication that we have with the customer and making sure that we gather all that information up front. So now coaching becomes very easy, and it's not necessarily something that the shop is doing wrong in a day-to-day when it comes to fixing the vehicle, but more about getting the clear and concise communication from the customer initially. Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of important. Just, I mean, we all know, like, we're not going to lie here. It's sometimes a difficult relationship. Dealing with anybody is a difficult
Yeah.
relationship. Dealing with other aspects of the business, other verticals, it's very difficult. So it's important that, you know, have that ground level conversation. Like, sorry, somebody's, sorry. Anyway, um, I turned my phone on silent, I swear. But yeah, I think that the conversation about you're having with people is very important, and just discussing exactly what their expectations are and figuring out what they've dealt with in the past, what they plan to expect in the future is very important there. So it's a really good point there, Mustafa. So any comments there? No?
I'm good.
Good
All
too.
right. So next question, we've got two future trends. Well, future trends we'll go to this question next. I think this is kind of more pressing to what we're talking about right now. How do you guys see the collision repair industry evolving in the next like 3 to 5 years? Like we're talking, I mean, short term in our industry, I guess short term would be like 3 days, but in terms of right now, like for like the next 3 to 5 years in terms of consolidation and the status of the independent and what's going to happen for business people in the next few years. What are your expectations?
That is a loaded
Well,
question,
from my
Allison.
perspective, I see a lot of. Oh, sorry. Go
Go
ahead,
ahead. No,
Matthew.
no, Mustafa, please go ahead.
You know me.
So from my perspective, I see us becoming a lot more involved with ADAS, with calibration, and quite honestly, keeping as much as you can in-house as opposed to subletting these operations out. And this is really where the idea of the shop of the future comes into play for us. To be a little bit more specific with this, I mean, the average vehicle age right now that we're repairing is around 2018 to 2019. So the vehicles that were produced in 2019, about 58% of them had forward collision warning systems. Now compare that to the 2023 vehicles, or the vehicles that were produced in 2023, and about 94% of these vehicles have forward collision systems that will need to be sort of calibrated in one way or another, depending on the impact. So just the sheer amount of technology that we're seeing in the cars is going to have a huge impact on how we conduct business going forward. And I think it's very important for us to be prepared for this shift.
Yeah, I just would want to add just the kind of process, and we mentioned it a little bit before, Allison, you're kind of asking about it as well. Just kind of the fix system, if you will, and how we go to an operational excellence perspective. So, implementing kind of a system and standard operating procedures within our shops. It's not a perfect science for every shop, because every shop is different. Every market is very different. But basically utilizing the what we call the fix system as a foundation has been very impactful. And it's really kind of almost taken on a new life getting a revamp from our operations team, and kind of specifically with just what our Western Canada operations team has kind of done with just kind of, for lack of better words, putting this program on steroids and ability to drive the impact and performance of the shops, kind of very similar to what I was referencing before, and seeing, you know, cycle times go from 25 days down to 12 days. So that kind of system, that structured approach is going to be key, because it's kind of based on it is based on a lean system. So enabling shops to be able to run lean, be profitable, and increase their performance is going to be vital. And again, leading into what Mustafa was talking about, just kind of that shop of the future and keeping everything in-house for technology purposes. So just really kind of leaning on both those. We all know there's a major industry challenge in terms of shortage of technicians. So having the processes and the ability to run lean is going to be vital in the next 3 to 5 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great comment that you made there, other than the one comment you made, but we'll keep that in there just because I know all of our audience will resonate. I giggled too, everyone, so it's all fine. But we have a really good question in the Q&A that I think will lead really well after our next question. So how do you guys balance the need for standardized procedures with the autonomy of franchise owners? Are there any governance models that you find particularly effective? Like, is there anything you kind of give to people that you're really just planning for people to do, or do you kind of let them just give them your standard points and say, like, run with it? Like, run us through that kind of model that you do for standardized procedures and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to what I was kind of talking about, right? So we have the fixed system. It is kind of a standard model, but you know, we've implemented this and we've watched it kind of grow just with some franchisees and some MSOs over time, where they're kind of making their adjustments. They're making their implementations on the process. So, you know, it's really just about a foundation and working with the franchisees so they can build their model, build their house, for lack of better words. So making sure that, you know, this system, this process sets them up for success, and then they can make specific tweaks as need be for their business in their market. Like, again, we all know on this call that, you know, something in Ontario is not the same as it is in Alberta or Atlantic Canada. I mean, I think we can even say that Alberta, Ontario, and every single province in the country has different submarkets as well. So something in the GTA is very different than in Thunder Bay or Sudbury. It's not all the same. So when we talk about just kind of standard operating procedures and giving the franchisees flexibility, it needs to be there, but that foundation needs to be there. That system to lean on and fall back on needs to be there for those operational excellence. And then obviously just adjust it as need be. So working with our field team to adjust the process specifically for that shop based on their square footage, based on their market is vital. And then again, utilizing the data points from staff and team is what we really rely on.
Yeah, and to Matthew's point, that's exactly what we do. And for me anyway, part of it is I actually encourage that the franchisees sort of take a look at their processes and maybe tweak them a little bit here and there, because what that does at the end of the day is it gives us insight into very sort of specific data in terms of, you know, what this process can do to your overall KPIs and your score. So we sort of run all these studies for before and after type scenarios, where before implementing the system, what it looks like, and after implementing the system, what it looks like. And we keep doing it as we go along, doing tweaks. The cool thing about that is it really gives us the best of the best, and it's supported by the data. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay, I see all the questions in the Q&A here. We're going to get to you guys in a minute. We just have 2 more questions left for Matthew and Mustafa, so just bear with us. And if anyone else has any questions, just feel free to shoot them out in the Q&A, and we'll answer them when we get to it. But we're going to focus on new opportunities right now. So what opportunities do you see for franchisees to innovate and differentiate themselves in such a competitive market that we have right now?
You want to take this
I
one,
think we kind of hit it before, right? Just that the technology piece is the shop of the future, keeping everything kind of in-house. That's really what's going to differentiate you for your business, and especially to whether it's, you know, DRP partners that you're looking for and insurance partners. That's really going to be key. So, you know, why should, you know, ABC insurance company send their work to you? It's because you're able to do everything in-house, for example, but also do it very, very well. That's what's key. I mean, you can have all the tools in the world, you can have all the right equipment in the world, but if you're not utilizing it and implementing it into your process properly, then it's just going to fall short. I mean, you know, there's a lot of folks on this call, and I think maybe I slipped up earlier, maybe said something that I shouldn't have, but I think there's a piece of equipment out there that everyone kind of laughs at, is the 3D measuring system. You know, the joke of the industry is everyone has a 3D measuring system with an inch of dust in the corner. So when you want to talk about differentiating yourself, brush off that dust and use that 3D measuring system on every single claim that you get, right? So, you know, that's just one example that is currently been in play for quite some time that we all know about, we all chuckle about, but why is that happening? So that's something that's key with our operations team as they're going through and doing their performance assessments of the shop, is making sure that they are utilizing all the equipment. I'm using the 3D measurement system as kind of an exaggerated point, but I think everybody on this call and everyone here understands that that is something that is vital for the repair process, to making sure that our franchisees are delivering that quality, safe, and repair. But that's just one piece. There's multiple other pieces of equipment that we can get into, but that's really what it comes down to, is making sure that the equipment there and the processes are there to differentiate yourself from your competitors.
And I think that sort of understanding your KPIs and understanding how your KPIs are sort of interlinked and how they affect each other will become very, very important. It's not just as simple as putting up KPIs now and comparing yourself to others. Like, again, we're at a point now where we're starting to understand how all these different metrics affect each other and how they play together for an overall holistic picture of franchisee profitability. So understanding KPIs and understanding specifically KPIs to your shop are going to be very, very important for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think another question to that, Mustafa, is if someone doesn't know how to understand their KPIs, how do they begin to understand what their KPIs mean?
Well, a lot of it honestly is in our network anyway. A lot of it has to do with how often our operations team is out there, and quite honestly, the first step is for us to understand it. So a lot of the work that I do with the data team is understanding how these KPIs come together, and then it sort of gets cascaded over to the operations team, and they're the ones that go out there and spread the message. But yeah, and keep on like joining industry events such as this, and eventually, be able to get where you need to be.
Absolutely.
But on that note, though, understanding the KPIs is important from a fixed KPI perspective. So, our kind of internal scorecard, if you will, or our dashboard, shop dashboard, just got a recent revamp, and it's just absolutely incredible. And it's kind of getting out there live and in the world right now with our shops, with our operations team. Also able to utilize it to have the right conversations with our insurance partners as well. Kind of going through all those data points that we kind of referenced earlier, but even more. And then being able to do deep dive on each one of those data points, as we kind of talked about, just to really identify the key areas of opportunity. But this dashboard is going to be available on what we call Pit Stop, which is just the hub for all things for the Fix network. So the shops having the ability to go in and see what their KPIs and performance KPIs are is vital. But if the shops are not engaging with our operations team, and our operations team are not engaged with the shops, then they're never going to understand them. So that's going to be vital over the next few months here, is making sure that everyone understands the dashboard, understands how to move it. But, like I said, breaking down those data points, especially on the cycle time piece, is demonstrated to be absolutely incredibly impactful for the performance of our shops, and is already delivering obvious opportunity and obvious impact for profitability. So it's more to come on that piece for the Fix network for sure.
Perfect. Excellent. We'd love to hear more of that program if we have more time later in the webinar, but we've got lots of questions loaded up here, and one more preloaded question we have here from me. So sorry guys, I'm a talker, so I'm going to keep you going, but I want to ask you guys, how can franchisees build stronger relationships with customers and enhance loyalty and repeat business? I know we probably touched on a bit of it already, but like this is pretty important for our industry right now.
Yeah, I think it's really coming down to communication, right? So how can franchisees or shop owners, make stronger, better relations? It's going to be communication. And there's so many different communication points within the repair process. And it's almost difficult at times for whether it's a CSR or a shop manager, kind of almost keep track of them. You have the actual client of the vehicle, you have the adjuster, you have the vendor manager of the insurance company, you have your operations team from Fix or whoever your banner representative is, or maybe just internally. So there's a lot of different kind of customers, if you will, in the process, but making sure that communication is up to date and clear and concise is key. We see that the more the shops are updating, whether it be Mitchell or Autotext in the notes and those repair status updates, the kind of less challenges there is when it comes to maybe a poor interaction with the client or poor interaction with an adjuster, understanding where the status of that repair process is. But if you're updating those systems and you're communicating properly, it's just been interesting to watch the impact of the performance of the shop. So I would say in terms of building relationships, it's just really communication. That's obviously way easier said than done. but it's really just trying to put those processes and be mindful of communicating in a timely fashion is key, whether it's writing an estimate or updating the client on the repair status of their vehicle.
Mm.
Yeah, and from my end, honestly, it's been like I said, it's been a pleasure working with my team. And for this particular question, the customer service team and the image desk team have done a phenomenal job to sort of align together. And what happens is whatever sort of findings they find from customer service or image desk in terms of estimatics will sort of get filtered over to the data team. And like I said, this kind of gives us a whole idea of how a shop is performing. But this is how I tend to measure customer satisfaction. I want to look at the number of warranties you're getting. I want to look at that kind of stuff. And coaching becomes very sort of specific to that. But this is something that we consistently measure, and we consistently try to find new ways to measure, to be honest.
Okay, excellent. So I think that's all we have for, well, I know that's all we have for our preloaded questions. We've got lots in the Q&A here. So let's start with, I'll kind of do just a lottery. David is asking, what is Fix Network doing to ensure shops are billing for all entitled operations?
That's a combination, but I think I'll lean on you, Mustafa, to talk about the performance desk review team.
Absolutely. So part of what we're trying to do here is really understand, first of all, what is logical for us to build for and what is above and beyond. And for that, I think we're starting to employ a bunch of new software that we're bringing into the network just to get a better understanding of that. And then we have the image desk team, where if there is an issue, for example, with the overall performance in terms of financials and revenue in a shop, they would go in and help that particular location identify the gaps and the points that they're missing. Obviously, eventually, the idea is to be able to release something to all the franchisees with all the results that we have. And that's coming pretty soon, in my opinion. But yeah, it's consistently being an estimate, consistently trying to be on the cutting edge of what's coming next, and just really being there for our franchise partners.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to continuous training, right? So whether it's the field team in the shops working with their estimators or working with the managers on proper estimatics, that's one. Again, we still, like we talked about earlier, we have the training facilities across the country that we lean heavily on. We utilize them for estimate training. We're actually working on a full suite of different training sessions for our franchise partners. We've recently become ICAR certified at the locations, and that'll be kind of more to come there on what we can also offer, not just our franchise partners, but also our insurance partners in terms of ICAR training. So a little more to come there, but when it comes to specifically on estimatics, it's a continuous piece between Mustafa and the operations team in the field.
Excellent. I think that was a great answer. Let us know if you have any more questions on that one. But we have another question here. You've all mentioned the importance of building data and relationships, or data and building relationships and improving operations. Can you share a specific example where data analysis led to significant change or improvement within the network?
I mean, I can't really put a specific example on hand, but I think the example that I had just mentioned earlier about the supplement ratios and the amount of supplements that we were seeing from particular sort of locations, and we started to dig deeper into that, and what we've identified was, again, it's just the lack of communication, and that was very, very quick fix for us. We do the same thing when it comes to things like cycle time. We do the same thing when it comes to repair to replace ratio. Sometimes, honestly, the data leads us to the realization that it's just entry issues. And it could be that one sort of entry that sort of throws off all your metrics out of whack. So it's very important for us to really dig deep into these metrics. And a lot of the time, you'd be surprised. It's either sort of something small that can be fixed, or an issue that's really a non-issue. And it's just coaching based on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, I think I'll just like re-highlight again if before about kind of our example, without specifically naming the shop and the program, but going back and kind of doing that analysis and assessment on just the overall cycle time of that claim, and trying to identify and using those 6 data points that we referenced earlier, just to identify where that area of opportunity was. Like, going back to it, it wasn't production, it wasn't actually getting the vehicle through, it was a lot of challenges on the front and back end of that claim. So maybe bringing that vehicle a little bit too early, not scheduling it properly, estimatics up front being inaccurate. So that was those data points where we were able to identify those areas of opportunity. And again, I'm kind of referencing the Western team and the implementation that they put in, kind of again putting the fixed system on steroids, and really just driving home the kind of performance and setup of a shop for this one franchisee, actually MSO, and it's been very impactful. Again, going from 25 day cycle time down to 12 is insane.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. We're a family-friendly program, Matthew. I'm just teasing. It's all good. No, I like the reference. It's perfect for kind of putting that onto like a higher level. But I'm more trained
Sure,
in
we'll say more
IT.
gas in the fuel tank then.
Exactly. No, you did
Whatever
it
works.
better, honestly. I think your way is more effective. But okay, so we have another question here from Renee. This is kind of a growing topic right now. She's asking, what level of importance does fraudulent and/or vehicles that are have tampered with VINs have amongst fixed network? This is a growing issue for us. It's kind of a very specific question, but
Yeah, and I can probably lean in on and answer on this one. We actually do not see that often, and if we do see it, it doesn't actually get pulled into the data systems that we have, because obviously this is more of an anomaly than something consistent. So most of the time when something like this happens, it gets dealt with directly with the shop level without our sort of involvement. So it's very difficult for us to be able to measure something like that we have no direct involvement with. Over the last couple of years, I think I've seen the case maybe once. That's about it. But other than that, nothing has come to my attention when it comes to that.
what about you,
I don't know about you,
Matthew?
Matt.
No, I haven't come across one of those just yet. So I can't really add too much for the question.
Okay. Well, thank you, Renee, for your question there. We appreciate it. And I do agree with you dealing with recycling as well with Collision Repair Magazine. I do see that as well, but I haven't really heard much about it on the collision side. But if you're saying it's happening, it's obviously happening. Okay, one from Jason here says technology for the shop is important. What is your take on technology to recover billables, inventory management, create APLs to manage spend?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I am all for it, to be quite honest with you. I think it is very important for a shop to understand what they're spending on and how they're recuperating that money. In my opinion, it's the more you understand where your revenue is going, the better you are at managing this. But at the end of the day, it becomes a business decision in terms of if you want to make that investment, and if it's worth it for you and how much it's going to save you. But if it were me, I'd absolutely go for it. That's just my take.
Any comment,
I'm in
Matt?
sales, so I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. I agree too. That was a perfect answer there, Mustafa.
Well, thank you.
Somebody else asked, how far are we, this is a loaded one, so I hope you guys are ready, but how far are we away from utilizing AI in collision repair?
That is a very good question as well. So we are closer than you think, but still far away. if that's a vague answer to it. I think AI is going to be very crucial in what we do on a day-to-day. AI will become important for us to sort of move away from the mundane tasks and the tasks that we don't really want to do, quite honestly. But that being said, we are still far away from getting to a point where we can fully rely on AI to be able to go in and produce a complete estimate for us. I think there is still a ton of involvement from a human standpoint to be able to go in and review that kind of information. When it comes to talking with customers, that's the other side of AI. I don't know about you, but I still want to talk to some live person, and I'm assuming most of our customers do as well. But yeah, I mean, we're still at the infancy of it, and I know in the network we're really investing quite a bit to be at the forefront of AI. But more to come on that from us for sure.
Excellent.
I would agree completely. Like there's areas of opportunity more specifically on the admin side. You're seeing some different programs and different companies out there that are like Body Shop Booster, for example. I think everyone in the industry is aware of. It's a great product, and there's areas of opportunity to streamline certain kind of admin aspects. But I mean, when it comes to the rest of the repair process, I don't think we're there yet. I mean, the estimatics piece of it is fantastic. I think it's great, but if it's, it still needs human intervention, as Mustafa said. Like, if we're getting only 60% of the estimate accurate or 70% of the estimate accurate, like that's great. That's a great start, and it's definitely going to reduce the admin burden. But we're not quite there for where I think the industry would like it to be. So probably more to come.
Yeah. I agree with both of you. Like Matt said, we've seen a lot of companies that are employing AI and stuff, but it always needs a second set of eyes and even a third set of eyes. So like we don't really know if it's saving that much time right now. It's more of like a trial phase right now. It would be really cool if it could solve all our problems for us, but at the moment, I think it's more of just of a kind of like a test run. So it's very cool to see what some of the programs can do, but it won't solve all of our problems yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Hopefully never. We still need, well, everyone in the industry is still going to need some things, but okay, we've still got questions here. You guys are full of questions today. Keep them coming. We still got 15 more minutes. We're happy to answer all your questions. So Alicia wants to know, how do you see the new restrictions for residency and renewal of work permits? 30% of our employees are on a temporary work permit. So for staffing and training and stuff, that's kind of not what we're talking about today, but I'm sure you guys have a bit of a comment on that. It's kind of a bit controversial at times, I'm sure, speaking for a network, but it is relevant for a lot of our viewers here.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, Mustafa, I'll let you kind of go in a second, but that's obviously a new one that's come into play, something very recent passed by the government. So 30% of the workforce is one of the highest that I've heard. I didn't realize that a shop is that high in terms of their employees, but yeah, it's a challenge. Like, you mean, again, AI is not where we need it to be to help with that repair process, especially I'm assuming that the shop is getting foreign workers for the actual repairs, for repairing the vehicles and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's a challenge, and I think a lot of it comes down to what can the Fix network do? What is our perspective on it? I mean, we're not really heavily involved in necessarily the HR components of our franchisees and their business, but what we can do to support is continue to try to highlight, obviously, our training centers, to continue to support in terms of training of youth and trying to bring in new folks into the industry. I think there's a lot of folks out there in the industry that are involved in Skills Canada or Level Up, whatever it may be, or Tropicana. And I think that's incumbent on whether it's just Fix or anyone else in the industry, is to really try to capture the attention of the next generation of collision repair technicians and painters and so on and so forth. So that's something that I know has been an initiative for quite some time. It'll continue to be an initiative for the Fix network, and I'm sure amongst many others. But that would be the best way at the moment that we can try to combat that, is really just try to continue on with the initiatives that the industry has put out, and Fix specifically just leaning into our training centers to try to bring in youth and lean on the ICAR training that we can provide now out of those centers to really get some of these new technicians up to speed.
Yeah, and just to sort of build on that, I think one of the key things for me anyways is we have a difficult situation on our hand where we're trying to sort of remove the stigma of working in a body shop from the minds of the younger people who are trying to get into an industry or find a career. And I think that's been quite challenging for most of us. My background is not in the body shop industry. So when I said to my parents that I'm going to start working in the collision sort of industry, you can see the reaction, considering I've been studying sort of medicine and neuroscience for most of my life. But eventually they sort of came around. But the stigma that's associated with working at a body shop, I think that's what we really need to tackle here internally. And I think once we tackle that, it becomes a lot easier to attract the talent that we need to attract.
Exactly. And like you guys mentioned earlier in the webinar, you have the training facilities. You are always out in the field at all the trade shows or anything that like students attend. You make yourselves known to the students, and make it known that this is a great career path, that it's not the same dirty body shop that your parents tell you it is. It's like I said at the beginning, you could eat off the floor of the Fix training facilities, and a lot of the shops that I've been to, whether it's Fix or other independents and etc., like it's always just super clean and super top notch. So it's not the same industry that people used to think it was. And some people just have a bad image of it. And we need to make sure that we continue as a whole industry to dispel that image from our mindset.
Agreed.
Okay, we have 4 more questions that have come in. We're still going, guys. You guys keep got the questions coming. I'm loving it. It's great. So somebody's asking here, it's an anonymous attendee. They said, how should shops handle with unrelated loss damage and insurance claims when the customer wants it included?
For me,
Yeah.
it's been like document. Honestly, documentation is of the utmost importance when it comes to dealing with situations like this. Involve your insurance company, the insurance company early on. Explain the situation to them. I think the worst thing that we can do is sort of keep the information away from our insurance partners. I think the more we get them involved early on, the easier the conversation becomes with everybody. I mean, you never know what the customers' sort of expectations are, and like I said, it's all about managing expectations at the end of the day. Whether that be coming from you or from the insurance partner, you guys, we just need to work collaboratively on getting to that good final end product.
Yeah, that's a tricky situation of a lot of shop space, right? It's trying to deal with that customer, in person, and they're trying to say that ABC damage is related, but obviously it's not. So you really have to lean on your hospitality and customer service bones to kind of communicate and provide that customer service to help that client kind of understand that this is not part of the accident, it's not part of the coverage, that the insurance company is deemed part of the loss. So, and again, like Mustafa said, document the heck out of everything and make sure that they're aware, right? Make sure the adjuster's aware, make sure that the vendor manager of that insurance company is aware if it does seem to be escalating. I think it's important to lean on all of your partners, and also if you are a banner, your corporate partners as well. Make sure everyone's aware, so that way they're there to support you.
Good point.
Couple of quotes we could get from both you guys on Flax from this webinar. I like document the heck out of it. That's a good one right there. We have another one here. It says, besides labor efficiency, parts sourcing, and key materials, what other areas would you recommend a body shop focus on for additional profits?
I mean, every shop is very, very different. I would honestly start by looking at the composition of your estimatics. Like, what percent of your estimate is parts, what percent of your estimate is labor, and what makes up your estimate? And does that align with industry standards, or do you need to tweak your estimating practices to get to where you need to be? But without sort of asking the question and digging in to find out how you're writing these estimates. And I'm not talking about the one-off. It has to be sort of, again, a holistic approach to performance. I think once you start with that, you start getting a better idea of how you're performing in general and what you need to be doing to really steer the ship in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you, Mustafa. Anything to add there, Matt? He kind of covered.
Tough to add to that one, right? Because again, it's very specific to the shop, right? So yeah, it's tough to add unless we get the chance to, for lack of better words, open up the hood, take a look in, and see what needs to be changed or fixed.
You guys keep making me write quotes down. Like, you're spewing knowledge here. It's incredible. Okay. If anyone else has last minute questions, we've still got about 7 minutes left, so we probably have enough time for another 4 questions. We've got 2 in the shooter right here. I'm talking crazy now too. We've been dealing with questions for like 20 minutes. I love it. It's been a very long time since we had this many questions in a webinar, so thank you guys so much. So someone, anonymous attendee again, said, how do you balance the need for standardized processes with the unique needs of an individual franchise locations or markets? Kind of similar to our last question.
Yeah, and I think we kind of talked about that quite a bit in the webinar here. Just we have kind of that foundation, that SOP fixed system that we are currently revamping. I won't use that other word again, but revamping to make sure it's more bolstered to drive the impact. But again, what that process is and what we found that it comes down to is this is giving us the foundation. This is giving us that kind of 80-20 rule. So implementing this process and then allowing the franchisee, along with the fixed network operations individual, tweak that system, tweak that process to meet the needs of that specific body shop. So it's really a full assessment of that location and the implementation of the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and again, to Matthew's point, it's been more like, we do have our sort of set guidelines in terms of fixed system or SOPs, but at the end of the day, we're all about continuous improvement. So if we have a franchisee who's come to me and told me, hey, I want to test out a new way of doing things, I'm all in for it. Like, let's test it out. Let's see what the data looks like before and after, and let's just, and if it works, it works. It becomes part of the fixed system. But in my mind, that's how continuous improvement happens.
And some of
the last thing we need is to be very sort of stagnant in terms of this. Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead. No, I was going to say, I got excited there because I think some of the best improvements that I've seen or been kind of understanding have really come from the franchise partners, right? So again, so having that kind of that standard process, but then watching it kind of evolve with our franchise partners has been key, right? So just watching some of them right now in real time is awesome and very impressive. And some of the best ideas that you get are from obviously the people that are dealing with everything directly on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you have to stay very close to not just the shop owners, but also the managers and everyone that's repairing the vehicles. That's where that's the grassroots. That's where everything comes from.
Yeah, I was gonna before you spoke there, Matt, I was gonna say the same thing. Like I've always known Fix to be a network that's very close to their customers and always speak to their customers very hands-on, earnestly, and you're always talking to them about what issues they want to face, and they feel very safe talking to you guys. So I really respect that about you guys, and it's clear that it's in your mission statement as well. Okay, next question. We've got 3 more. We'll get through the next 3. So if anyone has any other questions, we'll give some directions of how to contact Matt, Mustafa, and the Fix Network after. If you have any other additional questions here, we just got another one in, so we'll try to get through all 4 in the next 4 minutes. Let's be quick. So someone said, this is kind of touching on our last question as well. What is Fix doing to develop and get the next generation of techs into the Fix network of shops and apprentice programs? But also the next question kind of ties into that as well. So there's that question about what are you guys doing for the next generation? And then someone else asked, has Fix Network looked at sponsoring youth trades programs in CCIF or other programs related to that to introduce, or have Fix trainers looked at getting involved with the trade schools to add a pool of future techs?
So I can answer this one. So yeah, absolutely. This is something that we consistently do. Our training facility out in Calgary, our trainer there is very knowledgeable in terms of, bringing in the next generation. Same with our Blainville trainer as well. Both these guys are fantastic at what they do. We recently just hired someone in Ontario, so slowly but surely, I think we're getting up to speed there. But absolutely, we are consistently sponsoring new techs who are coming into the industry. We're always in a lot of our industry events. If there is an industry event specifically for youth, you probably find us there, or someone from our team. But yeah, absolutely, we're definitely always engaged when it comes to this.
Yeah, and to that point, specifically in Calgary last month, the team in Calgary specifically had I think it was about 35 or 40 high school students through the facility for an afternoon and on a Saturday. So heavily engaged, and I believe that there was actually quite a few placements of students that came through that were interested in the industry. So yeah, it's happening in real time.
Amazing. Yeah. Like I said, I've been to the facility. I haven't been to the Blainville one, but I've been to Calgary and Ontario, and they're both fantastic. And I know Jeff Francis runs the Calgary one, and he's just absolutely fantastic, and he's so good with the students. It's amazing. All right, so we've got, where do you see, I know this is another, we kind of covered this in a podcast we did recently, Jason. You're asking the question about when do you see where do you see expansion opportunities? Do you see further opportunities in the US? So I think we can direct you to the podcast for that, but if you guys have anything else to say about Daryl O'Keefe's opportunities in the US and everything he's kind of working on right now.
In terms of expansion of the network, I would say I think Daryl covered it pretty eloquently in the last podcast. Yeah.
Okay, Jason, I'll find your email and I'll send you the podcast that we have with Daryl from a couple months ago. He covered it pretty well. Okay, so next question. Our last one here, we've got, with the future being in-house service for stores, what are some that you see successful in the years to come? Some in-house services that you see successful?
For me, mechanical, glass, and calibration. I can't say one is more important than the other. I feel like they sort of work hand in hand when it comes to collision repair. And again, the data is showing us that this is where the industry is going. We're going to need to do a lot more calibrations. We're going to need to do a lot more sort of in-house operations to be able to meet the profit margins that we want to get to. So yeah, I couldn't really differentiate one between the 3 of them. I can't tell you which one is more important. They're equally important in my mind.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, perfect. Well, those are all the questions we have right now. We will send a follow-up email to everyone who registered, giving you some contact details for some of the, I mean, I can send you the contact details of Mustafa and Matthew if they don't hate me for it, it's fine. Or I can send you the contact details from anyone from Fix Network if anyone needs it. But we'll be sending out a email just talking about what we discussed today and a recording of the broadcast as well, minus the technical difficulties. So thank you guys so much for dealing with that and my silly brain sometimes. But thank you so much to Matthew Mauro and Mustafa for being here. We are
Thank
so
you.
grateful that you guys shared our knowledge today. I think we had a really great conversation today. So thank you guys so much for being here. And Jason says, thank you. I really enjoyed this. So I second Jason. I had a
Well,
really
thanks,
good
Jason.
conversation with you guys, and it was
Yeah.
fantastic. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Allison. Really appreciate you putting this together. Then obviously everyone that spent the time with us this afternoon is important. It's everyone's busy day, so really appreciate everyone's time.
Yeah, and thanks again, Alison, and thanks everyone. And yeah, Alison, feel free to share our info. I mean, always happy to help. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you guys again so much. It was just a great webinar. I really appreciated this conversation. And I think it was very beneficial to all of our 120 viewers that we had. So thank you
Wow.
everyone so much for tuning in and have a great Wednesday.
Great, thank you.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye everyone.